Hello everybody and welcome to the stream. As if I hadn't gotten enough of live streaming for this week, here is another one. So if you joined us for the Firebase live stream yesterday, welcome. If you have just finished watching Craig's Flutter live stream, welcome as well. So today I thought I was gonna pick up where we left last week. And last week I implemented a web view for the application that I'm working on. And today we're going to just continue working on that. So why don't we just switch over to the coding view, and then we can get going. So, and if you're on the stream, why don't you just say hello? I'll say hello to anybody who's there. And let's send a heart emoji. So, all right, so let's take a quick look at what we did last time. Here is the application, and last time we implemented a web view. So if we go here, we can see that we have our article that we can read, and everything is beautiful and nice. And you can see that we've got this amazing glass effect down here where the content scrolls behind, oh look at that, where the content scrolls behind the glass buttons in the toolbar. We've also got this glass effect up here on the back button and the gradient at the top of the screen, which looks just amazing. So if you're wondering what's the big deal about that, let's also run this on an iOS 18 simulator. So let's see if I've still got one around. Yeah, iPhone 16e, why not? Let's run it. And while we wait for the simulator to boot up in the background, let's take a quick look at the code. So here is the code that we implemented. And oh, here is the simulator. That's on my screen. Let's get it here. Okay. Let's finish looking at the code first. So we implemented this custom web view component, and what it does is two things. So first of all, if we are on iOS 26, it will use a custom web view that is based on the new web view in SwiftUI that is available on iOS 26. But because this application should also run on iOS 18, if we are not on iOS 26, we will run this using the reader view. And reader view is a custom component that I got from GitHub that does two things. One of them is it presents a web view, and the other thing is it has functionality that allows us to take a regular website, strip out all the additional boilerplate that makes it heavyweight and not easy to read on mobile devices, and then give us the simplified HTML. So let's take a quick look at how this looks like on iOS 18. So we're signed in to the same account, I believe, and it looks the same, but you will notice that the toolbar obviously looks different. So here we have the regular iOS 18 buttons, and on the navigation bar we've got the back button, and you will notice that the background is solid, so it doesn't even shine through, and it doesn't look half as amazing as it does on iOS 26. And now I realize maybe it's a little bit noisy from outside. So okay, so this is how it looks on iOS 18. And obviously we want the modern look and feel on iOS 26, so that is a lot nicer. So that is much better. Yeah, and look at how beautiful the glass buttons are adjusting to the content behind. Yep, very nice. Okay, so for today, we'll do something that sounds a little bit funny. I am going to add another view, another web view to this component. And the reason why I want to do this is, let's say that you've saved an article and the app does its best to make it look nice, but it doesn't look nice at all, and you have the impression that some content is missing. And I think we might be able to reproduce that if we go to Twitter. So let me try that. Let me find something that I can share with you. Okay, so this looks good. Okay, so here is a post that our director of engineering just posted. Let's try to take that, copy a link, and then add it here. So first of all, the app has a hard time detecting all the additional fields because for some reason Twitter doesn't provide a title. It also doesn't seem to provide the author and no excerpt and all of that. So if we save that, we have a very sparsely populated cell here. And if we click on that, we'll see, oh no, this doesn't look half as good. So that's just one example. And in that case, we'll want to be able to say, well, show me the thing how it looked like in the original. And for that, I want to use the SFSafariViewController. So let me move that out of the way. And let's go here. So the SFSafariViewController, and maybe let's find the Apple documentation first, is an object that provides a visible standard interface for browsing the web. So let's see if they have a screenshot. No. That's one recommendation I have for everyone. Basically, you know, if you do anything that's visual, why not add a screenshot so people can get an impression of how it actually looks like? So no screenshot here. Maybe here is a screenshot in Sarun's article. Yes, there is. And let me make that a little bit smaller so we can see the whole thing. So open SFSafariViewController, it slides over, and you've got the entire user interface that you know from Safari. You've got, well, it's scrolling too fast. So we've got the toolbar at the bottom with the share button, and there was a navigation bar as well with the done button. And you know, funny enough, it will also provide a reader view. Okay, so let's add support for that. And yeah, let's go over here. And maybe what we'll do is, do they have an implementation guide here? No. So I'll just go ahead and take a look at what Sarun is doing here. And the key is to create a UI view controller representable of the Safari view controller. And that is a view that allows us to rep any UI view and make it available to SwiftUI. Hey Franklin, thanks for joining. And so let's just copy that. And then I'm going to paste that to my, let me get my, okay. So let's go to Xcode, and then I'll paste this here, and then we get a Safari WebView.swift. Ooh, the formatting looks quite interesting. And then we should be able to just use that. So yeah, just like that. Safari WebView. Okay, so to do this, we'll probably want to add a toolbar to our WebView here. So let me fire that up. And then we'll add a toolbar. Toolbar. Toolbar item. And we want to place it in somewhere in the bottom bar. The content will be a toolbar. No, not a toolbar, a button. So we need a button. So we need an icon and an action. So let's see if we can, button, hello. So system image and an action. And then for the system image, let's see what we have. Is there an open? Oh, let's look for arrow. So I'm looking for the symbol that is a box with an arrow to the top right. Oh, and Daniel is here. Hey, welcome, Daniel. So, is there, if you guys know what the name of this symbol is that I'm looking for, a box with an arrow that points to the right, so similar to that one, but pointing to the top right. So maybe we can look for square. Square and arrow dot. Maybe I'm just hallucinating this. Okay, we'll use that for now. And then we'll see if we can find a better one. And if arrow up, right, square. Okay, I'll take your word for it, Daniel. Arrow dot up dot right dot square. Yeah, but that's great. Thanks for that, Daniel. But do you know that there's this one where the arrow points out of the box? Let me see if I can find it on my phone. I've got an app that uses it. So I think this app uses that. Oh no, I completely hallucinated that. Yeah. So this is just an arrow. But yeah, so I'll keep coding. Maybe you'll find a better one, and you know, this one isn't too bad. Okay, so the button doesn't do anything now, and we'll also want to put it to top bar trailing, navigation bar trailing. Well, how did I put the other buttons to the right? Let's quickly see. So overview list and artifact list screen, toolbar. So we've got top bar trailing, large title, subtitle, bottom bar, and that's the filter. I think the one that I'm looking for is in the artifact viewer. So toolbar item, bottom bar nodes, and then we're using a toolbar spacer. Okay. But this component is on iOS 26 anyways, so we can just do it like this. And then bottom bar. All right, let's see. Also, Daniel and I have been talking about doing a joint live stream. So maybe we should do that after the next conference, huh? Okay, so now this is in the bottom right. Amazing. And now we can present a sheet, I think. Sheet is presented and content, and then we'll have our state up here at state private var is presenting Safari. Is presenting SFSafariViewController. I think that is a little bit too verbose. Okay, like this, and then $ is presenting Safari, and then we can put our code here. So the Safari WebView with a URL. So now all we need is the URL. And we don't have the URL because we're passing in the styled HTML. So we'll have to, oh, there it is. But this component doesn't have it. Okay. So I'm a lazy bone, as I've told you many a times. So we'll do it like this. And then URL is URL. Nice. Okay. And then URL. So, how's that? Obviously, this probably doesn't work in the preview because I am not providing... Oh, I do. Anybody has an idea of what's presented at example.com? We'll find out. But I also need to make sure that we're actually triggering the action. So is Safari View presented .toggle. Good. Boom, here we go. example domain. Nice. So, and now, let's see. We've got all the Chrome that you've got on SafariViewController. So we can, for example, we can pop out to Safari, or, and this is, this is the we need to go deeper moment. I can tap on that and say, I want to, where's the reader view? Is there no reader view? There should be a reader view. Is it? This is search. What's that? Do you have to enable it? Oh, we can turn it on here, apparently. Maybe it realizes the site is already simple enough. So in that case, we'll just provide one that is slightly more complicated. And why don't we use Daniel's website? So I think Daniel also has an article about the web view. So Daniel, do you have a search on your blog? We'll just use that. Web. There you go. Nope. All right, let's use this one then. And paste it here. Okay. And now let's look at what we get. So this is the default view. And now let's see if we can get a reader view. We do. Boom. Nice. Great. So let's run this in the app. Where is my iPhone 17 Pro? Yep, Daniel, I think you need to make sure that you tag all your blog posts, but I'm like that as well. All right, so we have, let's try using one where I think it works, and also, why don't we just add Daniel's blog post here as well? So Daniel has done a good job at filling in all the metadata that you should fill in for your blog posts. So we've got the title, we know which site it's from, we know who's the author, and there's even an excerpt. So we can add this and then go here. So now we get the simplified version of the website because that is what the app does. Now let's open this Safari View Controller and we get the regular view of the site. And if we want, we can get the Safari reader view, boom, and that looks pretty close to what we have here. So that's great. We could even jump out and open it in the real Safari on the device. And this has a different Chrome. So if we were looking for where is the reader view here, it's not up there, but it's down here somewhere. So we'd have to, where is it? That's hilarious. Oh, it's here. Look at that. So it's not even in the overflow menu. So you'll have to go here and then boom, you can do that. There's a summarized view. Okay, so for some reason on this simulator, the summarize feature doesn't work. But that's not a problem because that's what we've got my app for. Cool, so this works really nice. Let's take a look at if this also works for this Twitter post that I added. I am not entirely sure because, yep, well, okay, so it does have the correct URL and it does show the post in more detail. And obviously they want us to go into the app, which is not installed on the simulator. Yeah, so that's really nice. So No, you could go into the meeting notes of our meeting and then, look what we discussed, and then, maybe you remember what you wanted to ask me. Yeah, so, oh, and also, sorry about the lag on the chat. This is because I'm streaming in 4K, so there is a lag of 20 seconds or so. All right, cool. So let's see what else we should probably do. So I think the layout of the toolbar down here, that is not ideal. So what I want to do is clean this up a little bit. So what we have is we've got this dialog where I can take notes or I can automatically summarize, and that's something that I'll also have to work on, because at the moment the summary field is the notes field, and oftentimes it is better to have two fields for a summary and the notes. So definitely something that I'll need to work on. And then down here we've got a button that you can use to share to any other app if you want. So for example, you could share into the Reminders app, and then there's this button which opens the metadata dialog where, as you can see, we've got the notes field, which is the same field that we have here. And I think that is a little bit, duplicate. So we'll probably want to change that a little bit. And also, let me see if I've got if my test phone is powered up. Yes, it is. Because I want to take a look at the Mail app. And obviously, I don't want to show you my personal emails, but the emails that my test accounts get are okay, I think. Other device. Okay. And then here is the Bezel app. So we can see what's going on my phone here. So what, obviously I can't click here. Okay, so what I wanted to show you is the layout of the buttons down here. So we've got the archive button here. We've got the move to a folder button here. We've got the reply button there, and we've got the make something new button here. And I think this layout is really nice. So what I want to do is, so I want to have an archive button as well, because we do have an archive action here. So we can go here and say archive this thing because I've read this now. So I want to have this in the detail dialog as well. And then, oh, look at that. So the icon that we chose is the one that I use for open a browser anyway. So we're on a good footing here. Good. So archive button here, and then let me unlock the phone. Archive button to the left. We don't have any folders yet, so that's something that I'll have to add to the app later on. But we can, I think it might be a good idea to have a button that shows us the metadata also somewhere here, and then the button for editing the notes can go to the right, because that is, for the purpose of the app, that is one of the primary actions. So personally, I use this app to collect the articles that I curate in my newsletter. So that is a primary action that I'm using. And I think the share button can also go to the left. So let's do that. And first of all, I'll move the share button to the left and the note-taking button to the right, and the open and Chrome button can probably also go to the left. Did I say open in Chrome? Oh my God. obviously you can't open in Chrome. So also, I just noticed, isn't that nice? Because this view is inside the artifacts view. This button here automatically gets added to the toolbar that we have there anyways. How nice is that? Okay, so here is our artifact viewer, and here is the nodes action, and we want to move that to the very right. So let's see how we can do that. Okay, so so now to build up the mental model for how things are laid out. So in order to help me, I'm going to move this up so we can see the toolbar down here. And so maybe, yeah. So we'll start by taking this present nodes editor toolbar item, and we will move that to the very right. Okay, so let's give this a try. So the funny thing is that the order in which you put them here does have an impact on how this is presented in the toolbar. And oftentimes I have the impression that it is not entirely logical how it works. Okay. Oh, of course. So this is an entire block, right? Because we are reacting to whether we are on iOS 26 or not. So depending on what we do, where we are, we add a matched transition or not. And so this is an entire block of stuff that needs to move. Okay, so here it goes. So let's see if this was... Okay, so it did move to the right. We don't have notes about this yet. So did we have no notes about that? We had notes about this one. Yep. Okay, so this is here. And I wanted this to be on the very right side. So we'll have to move this thing to the left. And also we'll probably have to make sure that these are in different groups. So let's go to the custom web view. And then remove this toolbar spacer. And we might end up having to control the toolbar item in our... Yeah, see, because apparently it comes last. Yeah. Interesting. So all right, and we also have a spacer that's here, so that is maybe also getting in the way. So now everything is centered. What happens if we so let's put this here so we get the spacer to the left of the notes editor item. Okay, so this is getting where we want it, but I want this thing to be in this group on the left. So I have a hunch that this might not be as easy as we were hoping it would be. So yeah. So what I am going to do is, while I am trying to figure this out myself, I'm going to ask my trusty sidekick and see what they have to say about it. So Gemini. Make this a little bit larger for you to read. And then I am working on some toolbar related stuff. Hello. I am working on some toolbar related stuff in some of my views. Can you please take a look at, and then this is the custom web view, and at artifact viewer .swift, and tell me how I can make sure that the toolbar button that I define in custom web view moves to the very left of the toolbar of the artifact viewer. Oh no. What is this? Aww. Really? Oh, let's try it. This is something that has happened to me a couple of times now. Okay, let's try this one more time. Hello. Okay. Can you please take a look at the following files and help me figure out an issue that I have with toolbar buttons? I want the toolbar button that is in my custom web view to be inside the toolbar button group that is on the left of the toolbar at the bottom of the screen. on add artifact viewer.swift. The web view is in add custom web view. All right, so Daniel had a question. How do you like the iOS specific APIs so far? Well, it's it's a pain. I feel having to support multiple versions is always a pain, and working on a smaller screen like that makes it even more of a problem. Having to zoom increase the font size. If you have the entire real estate of the screen that you can use, that's much better, but it's okay. Oh, so interesting. So one of the things that is very typical for the Gemini CLI is it is very eager to actually start coding. So even though I said, can you please take a look at, it's probably going to actually want to implement something. So yeah, I think that there are some nice additions in iOS 26. So I've been playing around with the foundation model stuff, and that's really nice. Having something that runs on device, at least for some of the use cases. In a couple of previous, a couple of streams ago, I used the foundation model to summarize articles. The problem was that the token window size is, the context window size is too small for even moderately complex blog posts, and that means that you'll have to come up with a couple of strategies how to deal with that. What we did was implement a hybrid approach where if we realized that we couldn't summarize locally, we would fall back to the cloud. Okay, so here we go. What is the suggestion? I'd be happy to help. I will remove the toolbar from the custom web view. That is what I was thinking. Then I will add a new state variable to the artifact viewer to control the presentation of the Safari view. Lastly, I will add a new toolbar item to group the artifact viewer and a new button to it, and that will open the Safari view. Okay, so it will remove this part here. Oh. Okay, let's do that. Yeah. It's not the worst. So and it's moving the stage to here. Actually make sure that we're following the same naming scheme as in this view. So for example, on line 32, you can see that we're using presenting notes editor instead of is presenting. So let's see how my coding intern performs here. You are right. Thanks for the correction. Yep, that is better. Have you noticed that people have started to say, you are absolutely correct when you tell them that they were wrong? Okay, so we get a toolbar item group here, and then it's putting the button in there. Okay, let's do that. It's going to be interesting to see how this works with the liquid glass design. And now we get our sheet. And that should be it. So adapting to feedback. All right, so let's give it a try. Oh, well, okay, I'm gonna do this myself because it didn't have the correct import. So this needs to be public. And then what else needs to be public? That needs to be public. And must also be public. Okay. Public all the things, apparently. Well, in that case, init, let's do it. Isn't it funny? So this code completion here, that was, what's it even called? Coding intelligence? Or, you know, it's the fancy AI-powered autocomplete that Apple has added to Xcode. I remember a couple of months ago when all of this was new, I was very hesitant to use that because I thought, well, you know, people watching the stream want me to write the code. They want to see how I type all the letters. And now this is like, yeah, let's do it. What is happening here? Do we need to import? Probably. Well, import Safari. Well, it should be there, shouldn't it? Yeah. So let's see. Our custom web view interface does have the Safari View web view in there. So the compiler telling me that, sorry, mate, this doesn't work. Probably just needs to recompile. What? What? It is public, mate. Oh. It was actually right. Nice. Good. So, surprise. Oh. Okay, so what is the problem here? That was unexpected. Let's try this once more. So, what seems to be the problem? So first of all, let's just comment this out. And then take a look. Oh, that is very interesting. I wonder if we have to add an import to make that happen. Sorry, a dependency. So So I'm guessing we need to add Safari services as a dependency to the artifact viewer. But how? What we can do is we can have a look at how Read does it, because they import it as well. I mean, they use it. But it seems they don't import that. That is very interesting. Okay. Let's take a look at their viewer. And maybe let's just search for it. Safari. No, it's not there. Interesting. I am pretty sure they should be using it. So what I'm going to do is we'll go to the source code and look there. Package dependencies, read. So I've got a clone of that. Safari. Okay, in that case, let's again see what our friend has to say about this. So I'm going to run this again and then just see if we can get an error message that we can pass to Gemini. Boom. So we don't get one. Can we just continue? That is interesting. So what is it trying to cast that it can't cast? Oh, is it the toolbar item group? Maybe? Is that it? Let's see. So, nope, it's something different. Wow. What happens if I run this from here? Yeah, what a nice crash. What? Didn't I comment this? I did, didn't I? Okay, so very interesting. Very interesting indeed. That is wild. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let's uninstall the app and run this again. And then just copy that and ask. I mean, we can roll back the change and see if that helps. That would be my next step. Okay. The most likely cause is a problem with how the Safari WebView is being created or presented in the artifact viewer. It seems I overlooked where it is defined. I will correct my mistake. Here is my plan. So it wants to do, well, it is there. That is literally what I did before I made it public and so on and so forth, so it should be fine. I think the problem has a different source. Can you come up with other solutions? Go. Okay, so for anybody who's joining just now, we're debugging a very hairy situation where something that should be working is not working, and we're trying to figure out what is the problem with the help of Gemini. And I am quite curious if it will be able to pinpoint the problem. And if it can't, my next step would be to retrace my steps, undo some of the changes, and then see what the problem might be. So let's see, it's still working. Yeah, I think using the CLI-based coding agents, that works really well. And just yesterday, 2 days ago, I was at a meetup where somebody showed how to integrate Gemini CLI and other coding agents into Z, the editor. So if you don't want to use cursor for whatever reasons, or if you want to use, if you don't want to use cursor, then you can use Z as well. It's not as amazing in terms of the UI for agents as Cursor, but it's pretty good. So what do we have here? Oh, often points to trying to access a property on a nil object, which can be a symptom of a subtle issue in how SwiftUI manages state and view lifecycle. So, oh, it thinks that we don't have a URL object. That might well be. Do we force unwrap that somewhere? Let's see. I mean, I uncommented that totally, so it should not be a problem at all, right? So it is gone. I mean, I can do a clean rebuild. Yeah, that's a good idea to use to use Git status updates. And ooh, okay, so apparently a clean build was a good step. So let's see if this toolbar item group thingy here is a problem. Nope, it's not. Okay. Okay, so now, yeah, now nothing happens because, oh, and okay. See, that is the problem with having this on a small screen, because now I'm in line 64 and I need to see if line 126 is within scope of line 64, which it might not be. So let's see if we can somehow collapse all the stuff in between. Yeah, it should be, shouldn't it? If this works now, I don't know. What? I mean, you tell me. All I did was do a clean build, right? So none of the, I didn't make any other changes, did I? This is just crazy. Okay, lesson learned. Do a clean build every now and then. Okay, so we've got our reader view. We have our share thing. We have got our nodes dialog. We've got our metadata dialog. That is really nice. And I did promise to also add an archive button. So we are, yeah, very nice comment there. There may have been some trash in the build folder. I always keep your house clean and tidy. Yeah, it's And you know, the thing is, I don't know if this is a problem just in Xcode and if things are better if you don't build within Xcode. I've tried to set up my, let me show you Z. So why don't we do that? And then, you know what? I did a clean build and that solved the problem. Okay, so new tab. And then let me show you how this looks like in Z. Okay, here we are. And it opens here. Here we are. So this is Z. And, you know, it's a nice enough editor. Things are obviously different. So if we, you know, one of the things I don't like, but that might be a configuration thing, it's really hard to see the, you know, the structure of the folders. You know, there is no angled line here. So we can go here, and I do have the Swift package installed, but for some reason it doesn't recognize the stuff. Maybe it needs some time to understand, oh, this is Swift, so let me help it. And then there's, I'm holding down the command key, there is no navigation. And to be honest, the Swift package for Z is very bare bones. You know, I think all it does is provide syntax highlighting, which apparently it's not very, I don't know if it's not very good at that or if it needs too much time to go into that. But anyways, so what I wanted to show is you can invoke this agent sidebar here, and then we can chat with the Gemini CLI and, for example, say, can you please tell me what this project is about. So now it's talking, it's using the agent context protocol to communicate with Gemini CLI. And because that uses Gemini 2.5 Pro, which is a thinking model, it takes a while and then it comes back. So this is pretty good. Let's see if we can find the latest changes. Can you tell me what the latest changes in this project are and what they changed? What's the change in functionality? And so, you know, you can use that as your editor, and it's nice and all, but you'll have to set up the entire build infrastructure. And I think they do have an integration for a debugger. I haven't yet tried this out, but you know, there's just so much stuff that you have to set up yourself. And I find that to be pretty time consuming and cumbersome. So here it says always allow Git. That's okay. So now it's getting the history. And you know, that's just annoying. And I know that people like Thomas have invested a lot of time into setting up custom agentic development flows outside of Xcode. And he seems to be very successful with it. But boy, it seems to take a lot of time to set this up. So yeah, based on the recent Git commit history, here are the latest changes. Yeah, I did a backend refactor. We added the Swift SwiftUI WebView, performance improvements in document mapping. So all of that is correct. That is really good. Let's see. What about the unstaged changes or the uncommitted ones? Interesting. Have you tried using Gemini to translate Xcode string catalogs? I tried doing it with Cursor, but had problems applying the AI suggested changes to the exported XML files. I haven't done that. The XML thing, that really reminds me of what a problem it is if any sort of AI wants to make edits to the PBX project file, right? So that is typically a recipe for disaster. So in my agent files, I typically write down, you must not make any changes to the Xcode project file to prevent that. Nice. So look at that. So it even was able to figure out that I made a change to my launch target, and that I disabled the emulator and debug flags, and it also detected what these were for. You've disabled the command line arguments that were forcing the app to use the Firebase emulator and enabling Firebase debug mode. And if you look at how these look like in the scheme, you need to know what these are for. I mean, use emulator, that's kind of like obvious, but also it is a name that I define. It's not a name that's documented anywhere. So it's doing a good job at figuring this out. And there's the debug disabled and debug enabled switches that are defined in the Firebase SDK somewhere. So yeah, good job. This means that when you run the app using this scheme, you will now connect to the live Firebase backend instead of your local emulator. Nice. Okay, so you are in the process of significantly improving the web viewing experience in the Sofia iOS app. You're replacing or augmenting the existing custom web view with a much more powerful and user-friendly Safari-based view. Okay. I mean, there is context in this project. There are agent files that tell the agent what this app is about. Yeah. If you look at the context files that I gave you and told you about the purpose of the project, can you come up with an idea why I am adding the SFSafariViewController? Yeah, so the experience of using that is really quite nice. Also, they have this this feature here. So once it's answered, I want to try something out. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Wow. Okay, let's see what it thinks why I'm doing this. Based on the project's goal as a second brain and the code changes you're making, adding SFSafariViewController is a very logical and user-centric improvement. The problem with the current approach so there are a couple of problems. Login walls, lack of features. So, you know, we might have, the user might store web pages in there that are dynamic. For example, lots of newspaper websites might have interactive charts, and if you have a simplified version of the HTML, obviously those features no longer work. Inconsistent user experience. And then the solution is to use the SFSafariViewController because it does everything. Shared login state. Oh yeah, that's a good point, because that shares the login state across the system. Yeah. Full browser functionality for free. Good point. Yeah, that's all right. Okay, cool. So we are going to start a new thread with Gemini CLI. And now what I want it to do is, if we go back to the simulator, I wanted to add an archive button here. Let's see if it can do that. Can you please add an archive button to the toolbar of add artifact viewer.swift. Make a plan and then show it to me so I can approve it. Let's see. Also, I don't know if you can. Oh yeah, you can. So now this should be easier to read for you. Okay, so here's the plan. Add a dismiss environment variable to the artifact. Why that? Oh yeah. Okay, so we need a dismiss variable on the artifact viewer, because if you tap archive on an item, you'll probably want to pop out of the view. That's a good point. Create an archive function that toggles the artifact's archive status and dismisses the view. Add an archive button to the toolbar, position next to the open button, which will call the new archive function. Okay, so that is an interesting approach. I think it might fail, but we can go ahead and try it. So the reason why I think this will fail is that just modifying the artifact, if it actually works, will not update the status in the database, and that is something that we absolutely must do. So the agent should be using our repository, the artifact remote store. Oh, and I wanted to turn this on. So let's see. I'm really curious about this follow me feature in Z. Let's see how it works. Yes, using smileys is a good idea, but you can use other emoji as well. Okay, so what do we have here? We need a new environment. We need a function. Oh, look at that. It did realize that we need to use the artifact store. Nice. And the button, allow all edits. Oh, yeah. So we were following along. Now we're here. Nice. Keep. Yeah, so the UI is very similar to Cursor, right? So really nice. Love it. Cool. So, and then let's run it from Xcode. The reason why I'm running it from Xcode is I know it works. I haven't set up, I want to say Cursor. I haven't set up Z well enough to know if the build feature already works. So I don't want to waste time doing that. Here's the archive button. All right, so we're not going to use Daniel's article because I still want to read it. Let's use this one here, which we can't read anyways. So click on the button, boom, and it's gone. But what happened here? Is it archived? Is it not? It's not in the archive. So let's see what is the problem. So there actually should be a function that archives toggle read, mark as read, toggle archived, right? And you can see that we need to make a modifiable copy and then perform update on the database. So let's see if it is able to figure this out. Unfortunately, this did not work. When I tapped the archive button, it seemed like it archived that, but I think it was not able to update the archive flag on the artifact and then store it back into the database. If you look at the artifact remote store repository, you will find that there is a function specifically for archiving artifacts. Can you please use this instead? Also, I just, as you just saw, it is so much easier to use a tool like Super Whisper or even the macOS built-in dictation feature to talk with your AI instead of having to type all of that. So let's see what it's coming up with. Yeah, I used the wrong approach. I correct the archive function. Yeah, then we're following along. You are absolutely correct. I've reviewed the artifact remote store and found the toggle archive function. I'll now update the archive function in Artifact View to use this method. Okay, keep all. And yeah, so this is much cleaner and you can't still navigate there. That's really disappointing. So on the one hand, what I really like about Z is that it is really fast. Apparently it's built in Rust. The thing I don't like is that the ecosystem is not there yet. Looking at Swift specifically, so that means that you'll have to invest a lot of work to catch up with what we already have in VS Code, for example. So let's give this another try. Boom, yeah, and it's gone. So this worked, and now this should be in archived. Nice. So let's give it another try with this one here. And let me turn on slow animation so we can observe this. Ooh, boom, it's gone. Nice. So, and with that, I think we've mostly achieved what I set out to do today. Look at this amazing glass animation here. So what happens if I turn on this? Woo! Okay, let me mark this as unread and then filter. Oh, what happened there? Oh, it wasn't finished yet. Okay, and now let's see what happens down here when I navigate into this. Okay, very beautiful. Very beautiful. Yeah, this is really nice. Okay, so one last thing. Let's try to move that archive button to the very left. This is all very nice. Can you please move that archive button to the very left of the top toolbar? And I want to follow along. Okay. And let's give that a try. And we can turn off slow animations now. Yeah, there you go. It's on the very left. Nice. So I think we can call it a success. We achieved what I set out to do. We have our archive button, we have our note taking button to the very right, and we have our open this in the Safari View Controller button here. And there is yet another feature that works nicely in Safari View Controller, which is this top bar background here, which obviously disappears if you have the simplified view, which is the whole point of it. Nice. All right, so next time we'll probably need to work on the styling of the HTML and remove this thing here, or maybe hook it up because this no longer works. But yeah, so that was what I had for you today. Thanks everybody for joining. And so I'll be traveling for half of next week, and then for most of the week after, we might do a live stream on Tuesday. It depends on how far I get with all the scripts for my videos I need to record in London, and the talk that I need to finalize for Swift Leads. So if you're at Swift Leads, come and say hi, and we can talk about what you've been working on, what I've been working on, and meet in real life. All right, thanks everybody for joining. People watching the recording, you will be able to click on the videos right here. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.